The buzz of the overhead fluorescents blended with the steady chirping of luggage scanners, creating that familiar airport soundtrack I've grown to despise. I stood in the TSA pre-check line, earbuds in, clutching my boarding pass like it was some sort of survival tool. It was 5:47 a.m., 2 hours before my flight, and the long drive to the terminal had already drained whatever energy I had left. That's when I noticed her. She was a few people ahead. Hair immaculately sculpted, designer tote hugged to her side like it held state secrets. But what really drew my attention was how she kept flicking her gaze backward, daring someone to challenge her presence. That's when it hit me. She wasn't in the line at all. She was circling it like a hawk sizing a prey. "Excuse me," she announced in the air. "This line is moving far too slowly. People like me shouldn't have to wait." Normally, I'd ignore the early morning theatrics, maybe roll my eyes and move on. But today her voice blasted over the airport din like a ship horn. She began sidestepping forward, sliding between passengers as if slipping thread through a needle. I watched, half horrified, half entertained. As she neared the rope barrier, the flimsy, almost comedic divider the TSA uses to keep some order, and then she crossed the invisible line. She leaned over and tried to slip into the security lane like she was exempt from every rule posted on the walls. A nearby officer shot her a warning look. She dismissed him with a lazy wave, muttering about how absurd everything was and how nobody understood real urgency. She radiated the sort of chaos energy that makes you want to laugh and sigh at the same time. I shifted, hoping someone would intervene before this woman spontaneously combusted. Then she spun toward me, eyes wide, voice sharp, entire aura vibrating with pure entitlement. "Excuse me," she said. "I'm in a hurry, and this line is crawling. Can't you let me through?" Before I could answer, a TSA agent seemed to materialize out of thin air, stepping directly into her path like a human wall. She froze, clearly trying to decide whether she could charm her way past him. That's when things truly took a turn, and I realized this wouldn't be one of those normal, rushed airport mornings. The agent stood with composed, almost aggravating calm, though the tension between them tightened the air around us. He looked her over, hands planted on his hips, as if calculating how much nonsense he was willing to endure before shutting it down. "You can't cut the line," he said flatly. "Please step back and wait your turn." Her eyes widened, lips thinning, but her voice came out smooth and rehearsed. "I don't think you understand. I have a very important meeting. My time actually matters." I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing outright. The seriousness with which she declared this, over skipping 3 people, was ridiculous and somehow dead serious at once. The agent didn't blink. "Ma'am, everyone is treated the same. You'll have to wait like everyone else." That's when I noticed her tote. It wasn't just overstuffed. It was lumpy, uneven, and she kept patting it like it held nuclear launch keys. She muttered, "This is insane. I've flown hundreds of times and never." The agent cut her off. "Ma'am, step aside. If you try to bypass again, we'll escort you." Her nostrils flared, lips quivering. I swear her jaw flexed like she was deciding between a meltdown and a lawsuit. Then she did something I didn't see coming. She leaned in, practically spitting out her words. "You don't know who I am. You think you can stop me?" The words were absurd, but the tension was thick enough to touch. People around us were silent, watching like the next move might spark a chain reaction. The low churn of the conveyor belts and the scraping wheels of suitcases seemed suddenly louder, almost rhythmic, like a drumline marking a standoff. I scanned the passengers, some pretending not to look, others whispering, a few shaking their heads. A strange blend of sympathy and dread settled in my stomach. Watching someone's entitlement smash into an unyielding wall of airport protocol was surreal. Then came the moment that made everyone stiffen. She bent down, grabbed the rope divider, and yanked it hard enough to send the whole line wobbling. The agent stepped forward, voice raised only a notch. "Ma'am, stop." And just like that, the mild morning irritation turned into a full-on showdown. I froze, wondering how TSA handles someone who thinks security procedures are optional suggestions. Then she went even further. For a brief second, time seemed to slow. Her hand clamped the divider, Her eyes darted between the agent and the passengers behind her. She stepped forward as if confidence alone could make the world yield. "Excuse me," I said. "Move," she snapped, her voice echoing across the glossy floor. The agent didn't budge. "Ma'am, I'm asking you one last time. Step back." Her face twisted with disbelief, a perfect storm of outrage and self-importance, like she'd been told gravity only applied to other people. Then she tried it. She pushed past him, leaning her shoulder into his chest. And that's when the universe intervened. A loud metallic clatter rang out. Her tote toppled, spilling papers, a half-crushed water bottle, and a comically large pair of reading glasses across the floor. She gasped, scrambling for the muttering, "Oh my God, this is absurd. I have places to be." The agent didn't move. He simply sighed and signaled for backup. I caught the faint tightening of his jaw, the subtle tension in his shoulders. He'd been through this circus before. Then, like a scene unfolding in slow motion, 2 more officers appeared, calm and solid, blocking her escape completely. "Ma'am, you need to stop," one said, voice low but unyielding. "Or we will escort you right now." Her lips twitched, gears clearly turning behind her eyes. She inhaled, ready to unleash a storm of insults, threats, or whatever she thought would win this battle, then hesitated. Something about 3 officers and dozens of staring passengers seemed to short-circuit her script. For a flicker of a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. And then she made the move that sealed her fate. She pointed at me, not a casual gesture. Full on. She pointed at me like I had personally committed a crime, the gesture sharp and dramatic. You saw all of this. Why didn't you stop them? Someone needs to stand up for me." I froze, unsure whether to laugh, sigh, or clutch my backpack like a shield. The sheer absurdity of it, her entitlement, the chaos, the unfolding circus, was dizzying. Around us, people were whispering, pulling out their phones, some already recording. The officer turned to me with a completely flat expression. "Sir, ma'am, I just witnessed," I stuttered, instantly regretting opening my mouth. She exhaled sharply, launching into another over-the-top monologue, the kind that made the entire line collectively wince. And that was when the TSA agent smiled. Not a big grin, just a tiny, knowing curl of the lips, like he'd been waiting for this precise moment, fully aware she was about to receive a lesson she would replay in her nightmares. The smile carried the weight of inevitability. He leaned forward just slightly, his voice calm but unmistakably firm. "Ma'am, since you're determined to test the rules, we're going to go through the process together, step by step." Her eyes narrowed, lips tightening as if he'd announced that gravity no longer applied. "Excuse me? Walk through the process? I don't need a process. I travel constantly." "Exactly," he replied, unmoved. "Then you should know this already. Empty your bag, remove all electronics and liquids, shoes off, and follow the belt." She jerked her hands upward. "I am not taking off my shoes. I paid for a seat. This is humiliating." I shifted awkwardly, glancing down the line. People were absolutely filming now. Some whispering, some openly delighted by the unfolding drama. The beeping of the scanner suddenly felt like a drumroll building to catastrophe. One officer nodded to another, and together they began guiding her, gently but decisively. She resisted, scrambling awkwardly over the conveyor like a toddler refusing to be put in a car seat. But the agent's voice remained steady, patient, and unwavering. "Ma'am, step into the scanner. If you refuse, we'll clear the entire area and remove you." Her face flushed crimson, a messy tangle of rage and embarrassment. She grumbled, "This is ridiculous. Nobody treats me like this." Then she did something that made half the line gasp. She stomped into the body scanner like it was a stage platform, yanking her tote behind her and spilling papers and random junk across the floor. The scanner let out a piercing beep. She froze. The officer raised a brow, motioning to the screen. "Ma'am, your bag triggered the scanner. Every item needs to be inspected." Her jaw dropped. "Inspected? Now, here? People are watching." "Yes." the officer replied, and I could swear there was the faintest hint of amusement. And everyone will see that the rules apply to everyone. She began unloading her tote, spilling items like a tiny chaotic landslide. Lipsticks, wads of receipts, half-eaten granola bars, sunglasses, random junk. Each time she lifted something, the agent asked, polite but unwavering, "What's this? Is that a liquid? Does this exceed the size limit?" The humiliation rolled off her in waves, messy, dramatic, and almost cinematic. There was a strange rhythm to it, a tension that pulled everyone forward. Even I found myself watching despite trying not to. After what felt like an eternity, the final item, a suspiciously oversized sparkling thermos, clanged onto the tray. The agent kept a neutral face, though I caught the tiniest flicker of a smirk. She stepped aside, chest rising and falling, eyes burning as she realized this wasn't over. This was only the beginning. Then the agent said something that made her freeze mid-breath. His voice sliced clean through the noisy terminal. "Ma'am, you attempted to bypass the security line. That's not just frowned upon. It's a violation of TSA. He cleared his throat. "Given your behavior, I'm required to issue a formal warning." Her face drained of color. Not because she respected the rules, but because reality had finally caught up with her. She opened her mouth, gearing up to argue, to rant, to threaten legal action with laws she definitely hadn't bothered to Google. But the officer kept going, unmoved. "You're fortunate this isn't an arrestable offense. Try cutting the line again, and you'll be removed and possibly banned from the airport." Her hand shot out again, trembling with outrage as she jabbed a finger toward me. He should have stopped them. Why did anyone stop them? The officer sighed, glancing toward the swelling circle of spectators. Phones were up, cameras rolling from every angle. "Ma'am, no one needs to intervene. You created the situation yourself." I wished I could sink straight into floor. Embarrassment, disbelief, and the overwhelming chaos of the moment pressed in around me. My ears felt hot. Behind her, a young guy stifled a snort. A woman leaned toward her partner and whispered, "Wow, some people really think rules don't apply to them." The woman's hands flailed now, halfway between frustration and sheer disbelief. This is insane. Absolutely insane. Nobody understands. I am an important person. The officer stayed calm, professional, unshaken. One step closer, guiding her gently but firmly toward the edge of the screening area. Each step she took looked exaggerated, like watching entitlement crumble in slow motion. Her tote bag, now half empty from the earlier chaos, dragged behind her, thumping the floor every few steps. And of course, the TSA agent began calmly telling the passengers, me included, that yes, she had tried to cut the line. Yes, this was an official warning. And yes, everyone was allowed to record for accountability. Her face transitioned from irritated red to full volcanic crimson. I swear she opened and closed her mouth several times like a stunned goldfish. "This is unfair. I'm calling someone my lawyer," she sputtered. The agent responded with the driest, most polite sarcasm imaginable. "We'll be sure to make note of that. For now, please exit the security area." Her rage, the cameras, and the horrifying realization that the rules actually applied to her knocked the wind out of her arrogance. She stomped away, muttering threats and complaints, leaving behind a breadcrumb trail of fallen papers and half-garbled protests. The entire line exhaled at once. Laughter, whispers, and relieved chatter rippled through the crowd. I sagged into the conveyor belt area. Letting out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. I thought we were finally done, until a familiar, piercing voice sliced through the terminal. She wasn't gone. I barely recovered when I heard her again, shrill and echoing through the atrium. She wasn't leaving quietly. Of course not. She was collecting attention like it was currency. "I demand to speak to your supervisor," she barked, spinning dramatically like she owned stock in the airport itself. People paused mid-stride. A guy carrying 2 coffees froze, deciding whether to intervene or start filming. I instinctively ducked, wishing I could camouflage myself against the floor tiles. The same TSA agent reappeared, clipboard in hand, expression calm with a hint of amusement. "Ma'am, As I said, cutting the line is a violation. You receive your warning. That's the end of it. Her nostrils flared as she jabbed a finger at him this time. This is outrageous. I'm going to call everyone I know. HOA boards, airlines, social media. He didn't blink. You're welcome to do that. But until then, you'll follow procedure like everyone else. Your bag will be rescreened, and you will go through the scanner again. Her jaw dropped. Her hands trembled. For a split second, she looked like a wild animal, discovering the cage door had locked behind her. The terminal hushed. Phones quietly rose again, capturing every second in crisp 1080p. Then karma landed its punch. She stepped into the scanner, defiant, and instantly the alarm exploded. Beep, beep, beep. Her eyes bulged. The agent gestured calmly. Ma'am, step aside. You've triggered the scanner. All items must be inspected individually. The thermos, the tote, the mountain of snacks, papers, and mysterious liquids. Everything had to be tested, opened, swabbed, inspected, documented. Each item seemed to increase her humiliation tenfold. Every traveler watched, some whispering, some smirking, some filming with zero shame. She tried to argue at every step, but the agent countered her protests with unwavering, procedural calm. By the time the last item was cleared, she looked wilted, frazzled, and utterly defeated. She had endured the exact process she'd tried to cheat her way out of, on the most public spotlight possible. The agent handed her the formal warning, locked eyes with her, and said, "This is the lesson. Rules apply to everyone, no matter your attitude or imagined status." Her lips shook. Her arms fell to her sides. She finally shuffled away. Not dramatic this time, just small and quiet, the echo of someone discovering the limits of entitlement. I exhaled, my shoulders finally relaxing. Around me, people whispered, chuckled, shook their heads. As I grabbed my own belongings and headed toward my gate, one thought stuck with me. Some lessons are loud, humiliating, and unforgettable. Some people only learn when the world makes them. If the story made you feel the tension, hit like, because justice starts with watching closely. Subscribe to Karen's Hub for more real-life showdowns where ordinary people push back. And tell me, what would you do when someone acts like the rules don't apply to them?